What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call to the Bullpen. I'm David Payne with Brad Zampar and Jimmy Miller. Let's play ball.
Bouncer down the line, Urshela, backhand, long throw, to stretch at first, out at first! Fly that one deep toward the wall, backing up Bay, reaching, what a catch! A spectacular grab by Bay. High fly ball to right from Peterson, hit well, Renfroe got turned around, and somehow, that was ridiculous!
This play. Just throw the glove out just in case.
I want to kick this one off with a personal apology to the fans of the Oakland A's because I think that last week I might have jinxed them in a way that I can't take back. I had said that the A's need to move and rebrand and start it over from scratch. And then news came out this week that apparently the A's are buying land in Las Vegas to move and are not pursuing a new stadium in Oakland. Now, we'll take this with a grain of salt because we've seen news about the A's buying land in San Jose. We've seen news about them buying waterfront land in Oakland. So this is not the first time that we've heard of the A's moving or getting a new ballpark. It seems to be a thing that comes up like twice a season. But it seems like Vegas is the right move for them. It seems like it's going to happen. It seems like MLB supporting it. It seems good for the league, but it's unfortunate for the fans there. So I want to shoot them an apology from Call to the Bullpen if we in any way caused this to happen. But Jimmy, you were talking last week about how it's a shame for the fans because there is history there in Oakland. So since that's something you brought up last week, I'd like to know what you think about this move apparently coming to fruition.
Yeah, I was talking about three straight championships, World Series from 73 to 74, 72 to 74. Those 3 straight years, they were nasty. But I think that Las Vegas is kind of, it's bad, but it's good in the sense that it's close enough to California where it's not like they're moving, across the East Coast, and their fans couldn't go to those games. I'm sure you can still plan a trip if you live in Oakland and you're an A's fan. But yeah, it is sad to see them change and go somewhere else, but I think it is smart to move to Las Vegas. I think you're going to see a more blooming sports market there. They have the professional hockey team there, so I think it's a smart move.
Right. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like Oakland should have done a lot more to try to keep the A's here because this is their last chance to keep a major sport team there. They lost the Warriors, they lost the Raiders, and this is only in the last few years. I mean, you could see the writing on the wall that these professional organizations cannot thrive inside of these garbage arenas and garbage fields. It's oblivious, and I think a lot of it has to do with Oakland's whole government or whatever they're doing over there. Because I mean, you lose 2 professional sport teams, it looks like you're going to lose a third. Can it be on ownership? Sure, to an extent, but I feel like it has to do with something more with what Oakland is doing because it's not the first or second time that this has happened now for a professional sport team.
Yeah, the common denominator there and all those teams leaving is Oakland, right? Like that's the one constant thing. It's not the same ownership group moving 3 teams out. It's the city really losing them, and it's a tough area. It's like you've got San Fran right there, you've got Oakland right there, you've got how many other California teams? You've got LA teams, you got San Francisco teams, you got San Diego teams. It's a concentrated market already. So expanding into somewhere like Las Vegas is league wide a good idea too. It's like you don't see that many teams in that kind of concentration anywhere else. You've got a couple teams in the same city like Chicago, New York, but besides that, I mean, your closest teams to each other are like the O's and the Nats, right? But it'd be like if there was the O's and the Nats and a West Virginia team and a North Carolina team, and all those were like. It's not even that same level of concentration. So it's probably good for the league. The league is probably supportive of getting them out of Oakland. And I'm thinking the Rays might be next. I mean, it's the same kind of deal with the Rays where we're always hearing about, they're going to buy this property actually in Tampa. They're going to buy this St. Pete property. They're going to do this. They're going to go to Montreal. They're going to go to Nashville. it's all over the place there. So this might not be our only relocation here. Do you think that they keep the name and logos and colors, or do you think they kind of break this thing down and rebuild it from the ground up?
For the A's, you're talking, or the
Yeah, for
Rays?
the A's.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I think that it would be cool to keep maybe some of the colors, kind of like the Mets did, how they kind of combined the New York Giants and the Dodgers. So maybe they combine like some, I don't know, maybe some like Raiders colors with some A's colors, and kind of do some sort of color match like that. I think would be cool. But I definitely think you have to keep at least the gold or the green for the A's.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be a really good opportunity for them to rebrand themselves a little bit. I don't know much about a name change. I mean, I think a lot of people would support a name change. But yeah, what Jim said, I think if you keep the gold or the green, you're kind of keeping that history. And then obviously you'll have the throwbacks like what the Nationals do or what the Rays do with the Tampa Bay and Montreal. So I feel like it'd be a good opportunity for them to do a little redesign of their uniforms and team brand overall.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna move out of Oakland, maybe you could leave the history of the Oakland Athletics, and be something different once you're in Vegas. Kind of leave the fans with that legacy that they had there in Oakland as the A's. And let's be honest, the Athletics is a crap name, anyways. You might as well be named the baseball players. It's not a creative name. So I think keeping the gold would be really cool, but maybe just shift it to like a Vegas gold, because that's like an actual color. So I think that there could be a cool opportunity here to leave the fans of Oakland with their history, but also rebrand and become something new, which they really, really need. And it's going to be an awkward next couple of years because they're not moving until for 5 years. It's 2027. They're looking to open the stadium. So it's going to be an awkward couple of years there in Oakland where the fans don't have a good team to even come out and support for their last years there. It's not, it was already a crap team getting crap attendance, and now you have no reason for those fans to want to come see you. So it's going to get worse there in Oakland over these next couple of years, and you got to feel for these fans. So again, if we caused this in any way, Oakland A's fans, please forgive us. Now let's shift to another California team, the San Diego Padres, with Fernando Tatis coming back. He had an 0-for-5 day in his first day back, but he went yard last night, made a pretty good catch in that first game out there in right field. What do you guys think of Tatis in general? I mean, it's a loaded question, but he's a controversial figure, right? He's getting a lot of hate from one side. He's a cheater, this and that. And then you also have to acknowledge at the same time that he's the most talented player not named Shohei Ohtani in the league, probably. He's the most electric player. If you look at what he did in 2021 as a 21-year-old kid, I would say piece of baseball in a couple of years down the road, maybe even now, the best player that's not named Shohei Ohtani. So what do you guys think of Tatis's comeback? Are you rooting for him? Are you against him? Where do you guys fall on this?
I'm not necessarily against him. I don't really think this, I don't think it's going to, make the Padres, be that, 105 win team. They started off slow. I don't think Tatis brings them from what are they, a game below 500. I don't think it's going to skyrocket them up the division standings because the pitching hasn't been great. The bullpen hasn't been great. The offense has been, their one true constant. So you're just adding to that. But on the other sides of the ball, there's a lot of questions with the Padres. So, it's good to see him back. I wish him the best, but I don't think it, propels them to the top of that division standings in the near future.
Yeah, I think it should definitely help them. Like to say the least about it, it's definitely going to help them because when you add a perennial MVP candidate like that, it's going to help anybody regardless of what's already in your lineup, and takes pressure off guys off the lower part of your lineup, takes pressure off the bullpen, off the starting pitching staff. I mean, the fans in San Diego, obviously, they're going to love him regardless. Baseball fans, I feel like he's going to have to show like I don't know if he has to show that he's the player he was, but he has to show like he's back. He cares about the fans, cares about the game. And he's not just going to get the general population to love him again right away. So he's going to have to earn that a little bit. But, I mean, I'll be rooting for him. But the general fan might say they have to see more from him. Oh wait, one tidbit. His home run that he hit, I would have robbed. Just gonna throw that out there.
You would have robbed it.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
it
I
was in
mean,
the first row, maybe a foot over the fence.
I do think that him coming back helps in the division that they're in, particularly because the Dodgers are I'm pretty mid now. The D-backs are a good team, but they're not serious contenders at the end of the day. I think that it does set them apart from these other teams in the division now, and maybe like Brad said, taking some pressure off some of the other guys in the lineup. Maybe you can get guys like Juan Soto going. Maybe Manny Machado is a little bit happier with his young buck Tatis in there with him. Like maybe the fans are more energized, and that gives the Padres more energy in home games. Like it could have a kind of spiral effect when you add a guy like that to the lineup. But at the same time, everybody does have to do their job, right? And maybe more beneficial to the Padres is going to be the return of Joe Musgrove now instead of Tatis. So maybe that's the more influential piece on their overall success this year. So now we'll stay in division and talk about Madison Bumgarner getting DFA'd with $30-something million left on his contract. And with this trend kind of came to be with the Albert Pujols DFA, I feel was really the turning point. Whereas like if Albert Pujols can get DFA'd, anybody can get DFA'd. And teams are more willing to let guys go now. Cody Bellinger, MadBum now. Like teams are more willing to let this kind of thing go. Whereas before you wouldn't see them kind of eat the money like that. So it's a good thing from a fan perspective that ownerships are willing to just say, this is not working. We're going to improve the team and not just let this guy sit here on the roster like the Orioles did with Chris Davis for so long. If we could have DFA'd Chris Davis and, had Ryan Mountcastle playing or Trey Mancini playing full-time first base a bit earlier, that probably would have been really beneficial to those teams. But what do you guys think? Is MadBum going to catch on somewhere else? Is this the end of the road for him? What do you guys think?
I wouldn't doubt if he goes back to the Giants, honestly. Like you see guys like Darren Ruff, Conforto, J.D. Davis, guys like that. It seems like, I don't want to say washed up players, but older veterans kind of get to the Giants and they have a bit of a resurgence. So I wouldn't doubt if Bumgarner goes there and, is a, decent, passable pitcher, because they are low on rotation spots, especially after losing Carlos Rodon. So I wouldn't doubt if he goes back there and they at least give him a shot. Other than that, I don't know who else would take him. So I'd say the Giants. And if not the Giants, I think it might take him a little while to maybe get onto a different team. But I do like the Giants for him.
Yeah, so there's an interesting clause inside of his contract that nobody has really talked about. And in order for him to get the full benefit from I think it's like 17 million this year and 16 million next year or something like that, he has to throw 50 plus innings in each year to get that guarantee, regardless of team. So he has to throw more innings this year, he has to throw more innings next year. Down in Texas, that'd be an interesting option. Texas is a little thin on starting pitching depth. Bochy's there, obviously the connection. The Cardinals too, they really just need anybody who can throw a baseball right now. So those are two options. And one thing with the Cardinals that made me think of it was when they brought in J.A. Happ and they brought in John Lester. Those two guys who we thought were done, and the Cardinals ended up getting like legitimate innings out of them for a while. So it'd be interesting to see them go after Bumgarner.
I wonder what the Rays could do with Madison Bumgarner. I wonder what that pitching lab could do with him if they could bring him back. I don't and he's dirt cheap too. He would fit their cheap model to be paying him $200,000 or something. But I don't think that would happen. But it's funny too because it comes right after the game where he had this hothead incident. He seems to be always a center of controversy. There's a lot of like MadBum fight clips out there where he's telling people to he had a confrontation with Muncy, he had a confrontation with an umpire with Dan Bellino last year. So he's kind of a confrontational guy too. So you got to think about, you're bringing in a guy who's going to give up 7 runs a game. You're bringing in a guy who's going to get in a fight with someone while giving up 7 runs a game. It's not your ideal candidate.
I need him to go to AAA and play for the Durham Bulls and them to come up with a bobblehead of him riding a bull and put his bull riding name on the bobblehead.
Yes. What does he go by again? Mason Saunders?
I'd have to look it up. I think that's what it was.
Is it Mason Saunders? Oh, that's hilarious. That would be great. That'd be a great bobblehead. At Durham Bulls, at Rays, sign him. Your pitching lab could turn him around and give him a great promotion in AAA. Now, another veteran pitcher, Max Scherzer, suspended for 10 games for some sticky substances on his glove. It was a weird situation for sure. It looked like they were telling him to wash his hands, and then he came back out with sticky stuff still on him. A couple days after Domingo Herman was told to wash his hands and came right back out and no ejection or suspension. It's weird for a veteran guy like that. Like I don't know. It's a weird situation. Jimmy, you're a Mets fan, so you're more closely, following this and more invested in it. I mean, what is going on here? Because from my perspective, it's hard to see a veteran guy like Scherzer, who's a real competitor, going out there and cheating. Basically, anything outside the norm, I can't see him doing. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think he cheated or used any sort of illegal substance. The common denominator in those, there were two other pitchers suspended. I think it was Hector Santiago. I'm missing one besides Scherzer. Santiago, Scherzer, and I know there was one other guy that got kicked out or suspended because of sticky substance. Phil Cuzzi was the umpire for all three that got him ejected from the game. So at the end of the day, I mean, I think a lot of people think, oh, he's guilty because he did not appeal the suspension. But you look at the Mets schedule, they face the Giants and then the Nationals, and then they go on to face the Braves. So if he were to, wait to appeal or see what, the verdict would be and would continue pitching, he might get suspended for that Braves series. So I think it's smart for him to just take that suspension, especially if MLB was going to be the one handing it out. I doubt he'd have much of a fair trial with that bias. So I think it's smart that he took that suspension, so he'll be back and ready for the Braves.
Yeah, the thing that really stuck out to me for kind of solidified him like not using sticky stuff for me was he was asked in the presser, he was like, yeah, I didn't have anything on my hands. It was rosin, it was sticky. And he's like, I pitched the third. I know that they're going to check me when I come out for the fourth. So I'd have to be a complete idiot to go out there with anything on my hands, knowing that I'm going to get checked again. I mean, it felt kind of personal because he seemed like that guy who kind of seems like he just goes after pitchers that if he doesn't like them or he thinks something is slightly off, he kind of just goes right at them. And he's been the only guy who's thrown pitchers out. I feel like it has to do something more with Cuzzy than what these pitchers are using, unless the rest of the umpires are just completely ignoring it and Cuzzy's the only one letting things not slide. So I'd probably go with Cuzzy is the issue here.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because when you're tossing starting pitchers, like you are compromising the rest of that game. The rest of that game is a complete crapshoot for the team whose pitcher you're throwing out. So when you have one umpire making decisions like that is, potentially, you could lose the game by the division by a game at the end of the year, and it could be a result of something like that. So you hate to see that, and maybe it is that Phil Cuzzy's the only umpire doing his job, but it seems overwhelmingly likely that he's over-policing this, which is, it sucks to see a veteran guy like that too. Maybe on some young pitcher or something just coming up that you don't know their history, but like who Max Scherzer is. That he's a fair competitor. He's an intense guy who cares about baseball and cares about the game. So I think that it does show some bias there. And then the bias Jimmy was talking about was Scherzer was one of the lead negotiators for the players during the lockout last year. So there could be a league bias against him and some kind of vendetta against him. And I don't want to get conspiracy theory-ish, but a guy like Scherzer is not doing anything crazy. With that said, we can go to our MLB Players of the Week now for Week 3.
So this week, AL Player of the Week, Adolis Garcia of the Rangers. 8 hits, 4 of them home runs, 14 RBI, 364 average, 1,000 slug, and a 1,400 OPS. NL Player of the Week, Patrick Wisdom of the Cubs. 9 hits, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 10 RBI, 290 average, and an 1119 OPS. AL Pitcher of the Week, kind of a returning guy in Garrett Cole. Brad said it earlier this year, if he can limit the long ball, he's probably going to win the Cy Young. I don't think he's given up a home run yet, maybe one tops, but he's going off right now. So last week, 2 games started. 1-0 record, 14 and 2/3 innings pitched, no runs, 14 strikeouts, 6 hits, 3 walks, so a .61 WHIP, which is obviously very good. NL Pitcher of the Week, another returning guy in Zach Gallen of the D-backs. I know people are probably going to say in the comments, Drew Smyly got snubbed, but he had 2 starts last week, and the 1 start was atrocious before that perfect game bid. So Zach Gallen, the 2 starts, was 2-0 with 13 and 2/3 innings pitched, no runs, 18 strikeouts, 4 hits. Even more impressive, I'd say, than the ERA is no walks in those 13 and 2/3 innings pitched. So an incredible .29 WHIP. And going to the AL Rookie of the Week, we have a new face, Taj Bradley of the Rays, a guy they're very high on. He had 1 start, 5 1/3 innings pitched, no runs, 9 strikeouts, 3 hits, and 1 walk in the win versus the Reds on Tuesday. I think it was his second MLB start. NL Rookie of the Week, a guy, like we said, for the Dodgers, they're going to need their younger guys to step up. James Outman, he had 10 hits, 4 of them home runs, 9 RBI, a .370 average, .852 slug, and a .1245 OPS.
And going back to Gallen too, I mean, it's not just this week. Last week he was incredible too. He's over 20 straight scoreless innings. So Zach Gallen is killing it, and Brad and I were hoping that he would be an Oriole by August, but the way the D-backs are playing, they're not sending him anywhere. So we'll shift the focus to Dylan Cease there. But Bradley, take it away with our umpires of the week. I assume that Phil Cuzzy is not the best umpire of the week.
He's not the best umpire, but he was not the home plate umpire for the game, so we decided to not go for him. But one thing on James Outman, he has been electric this year, and the only reason why he was on the Major League roster was because of Gavin Lux's ACL injury. So if it wasn't for that, he'd be rotting down in AAA, but I just wanted to touch on that quick. Our best umpire was Will Little. He did the game Thursday in New York with the Angels in town. His relative accuracy for the day was 5.5% better than your average umpire, which was good for 10.4 more correct calls than your umpire. Accuracy for the day was 99%, consistency 94%, called ball 99, and called strike 98. He only missed 2 calls all day, and his overall factor was 0.2 runs for the Angels. The Yankees won that game 9-3. Worst umpire was Bruce Deckman. Should be called Bruce Reckman because this was just an abysmal performance. Relative accuracy was negative 5.4, 7.6 fewer calls than your average umpire. 88% overall accuracy, overall consistency 95, called ball was 97, and his called strike was 72%. His overall factor for the day was 1.07 runs for the Rangers, and the Rangers won that game 4-0 against the Royals.
And down to the farm for the minor league players of the week.
So in AAA, it was Hunter Fidicia. He's a catcher for the Oklahoma City Dodgers, 25 years old. He's a 2018 12th rounder out of LSU, not inside the Dodgers top 30. He's not really their most regarded catcher in their system because they have a lot of high-quality catcher talent that could be starters at the major league level. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him backing up Will Smith by the end of the year. Group his hot start with Austin Barnes's pretty bad start. I think he's like 1 for 27 to start the year or something like that. This past week, he was 10 for 18, scored 5 runs, doubled 3 times, homered twice, drove in 13, and had a 1656 OPS. AA is Justin Jarvis. He is a starting pitcher for the Billocks Shuckers. Definitely butchered that city or whatever city. It's got to be a city. He's 23 years old. He was a 2018 fifth rounder out of high school in North Carolina. It's taken him a while to get his feet under him at the pro level, but he kind of showed signs last year in AA, and it's carried over to this year. This past week, he pitched against the Trash Pandas. He went 6 innings, struck out 10, gave up 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and picked up the win. High A, Josh Steffen. He's a starting pitcher for the Hickory Crawdads, 21 years old. He was a 2020 undrafted free agent when there was only 5 rounds in that draft. He was one of only 17 high school players who ended up signing out of that class. It was a $20,000 cap signing bonus. He forwent a commitment to Stephen F. Austin University, 29th on the Rangers top 30, and I think he's going to fly through that system. He should follow right in the footsteps right behind Jack Leiter, who's kind of struggled this year, and Kumar Rocker. This past year, he was 115 strikeouts to 31 walks in 103 innings. And this past week against Bowling Green Hot Rods, who's a very good Rays affiliate. If you look at that roster, they have like 4 or 5 first rounders, plenty of supplement players. He went 7 innings, gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, walked 3, struck out 10, and he picked up the win as well. Low A was Andrew Cassetti. He's a catcher for the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. 23 years old. He was a 2022 11th rounder out of St. Joe's in Philadelphia. Not inside the Twins' top 30, but he's a power-hitting on-base machine catcher for them. He's got really good defensive skills as well, and with the Twins being thin at catcher, I feel like he has a chance to move quick through that system. He was 10 for 17, scored 7 times, doubled twice, homered 3 times, drove in 14, and had an 1871 OPS.
We've got Shuckers, Mighty Muscles, Hot Rods, and Trash Pandas. Oh my. That is a great week of minor league team names right there. Now we're going to this week's Power and Sour rankings, kicking it off on the Sours. That's the worst of the worst from the last week. Number 5, the San Francisco Giants can't buy a win. Number 4, the White Sox are just cursed. They're supposed to be good. They got a new manager, got Tony La Russa out of there, but the curse of Tony La Russa hangs over them. The Colorado Rockies are just as bad as we thought they were. The Kansas City Royals are number 2. Those are 4 new teams on the Sour rankings. These teams were all off last week and made their way on now. And the only returning team is number 1, the Las Vegas Oakland Athletics, after a terrible week on and off the field. So Giants, White Sox, Rockies, Royals, Athletics all make the Sour rankings. And I'm going to do something different with the Power rankings this week, which is I'm going to read all 10 of them off here. Usually we do the top 5, but I'm going to do all 10 here, and you'll see why in a second. At number 10 is the Texas Rangers making their first Power rankings appearance. Number 9, we've done this show this is our 3rd year now. And Brad and I have wanted so badly to have the Baltimore Orioles on the Power rankings. And now in year 3, we can finally justify putting the Baltimore Orioles on the Power rankings. 8-2 week. We're several games over 500. Second in the AL East. The Baltimore Orioles are coming in at number 9. So finally able to do that. I'm very happy about that. Number 8, I'll be even happier when they're ahead of this team, which is the New York Yankees at number 8. Down from number 7 last week. At number 7 is the San Diego Padres, falling all the way from number 4. And the Brewers are staying at number 6. The Astros are staying at number 5. The Blue Jays moved down a spot to number 4. They were 3 last week. The Mets have moved all the way up to number 3 from number 8. The biggest jump of the week, up or down, is the New York Mets. The Tampa Bay Rays stay at number 2, and the Atlanta Braves have really cemented themselves in the 1 spot on the Power rankings as of right now. So that top 5 again was the Astros, Blue Jays, Mets, Rays, and Braves. You could see Power and Sour rankings, as well as other posts like the Call to the Bullpen MLB Research Stat of the Week. We've got Ed doing live streams on MLB The Show. We've got Owen's top 5 plays, Jackson's fantasy forecast, all at CTBP Pod on social media. So make sure to shoot us a follow, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you all next week with another episode.